Welcome to the Kurt Browning version of his radio voice. Hi, everybody. Podcast time. It's the post Cup of Russia Get Along Fun Sing Along, also known as the podcast. Welcome, Tracy Wilson, my lovely girl to the left, whenever we're on television together. And of course, PJ Kwong. I'm never going to say your name right because it's fun not to.
You know what? It's kind of like Browning. Same.
Kwong. PJ's never to my left. She's always upstairs or downstairs or on site or something. And here we are, podcast time. We had a good time. I expected the Cup of Russia to be a little bit of a mysterious kind of event, the one that didn't have any sort of form. I think that it was, with what the skating ended up being, a better competition than the skating individually showed. It was a lot of interesting elements to it. The most, of course, for me, being the Just Stop Talking About Me skate by Patrick Chan. You know, and so let's start with chatting about Patrick. Your overall thoughts as to how important, PJ, how important this was to Patrick in his season.
Do you know what he said to me at Skate Canada, sort of not off the record, but we weren't recording, talking about the fact that he was kind of in his head and he was nervous about Skate Canada after what had happened at Japan Open. And I think sometimes when you stop listening to people and you just do what you need to do, you're much better off. But when he's been sidetracked by all of the negative chat about changing choreographers, changing coaches. Does that mean he can't skate anymore? Ooh, big skitty. And this time he just said, I'm still Patrick Chan. I'm still two-time world champion. Deal with it.
I think you can't help but get into your kitchen, because I'm sure, and that means into your head, because I'm sure, even he probably has some niggling reservations, because it is sort of uncharted territory in terms of the direction he's going with a non-figure skating quote-unquote coach. And so you just sort of, as everybody starts talking about that, then I'm sure there's, but the fact of the matter with Patrick Chan is he's never been any different at Skate Canada, really.
That's
true. The only difference is Fernandez had a fabulous short and long program, and so beat him. And so that's sort of where push came to shove. But what I just think for Patrick is you could see it at Skate Canada as he was getting more involved in the music. And when you do get more involved into the music, you get more into your emotions, into your feelings, and less into the head. And so the risk is your focus goes in and out, and that will affect the technical side and the jumps. So anyways, that affected him at Skate Canada. I loved what I saw here at the Cup of Russia. Still wasn't perfect technically, but I just think, the program was about so much more than just the jumps.
Well, it would have been fun for skating fans to get to see you while Patrick was skating, because you were skating right with him, in your seat and bouncing back and forth. And so he was moving you on a level that had nothing to do with the quads and the spins. It was really about how lost he was in the program. The integrity of the program stayed, even though in the second half of his program he did pop 2 jumps, I believe it was. It didn't seem to show on his face, or for a millisecond he was not lost from the program. That was impressive to me. I do want to say out loud that he got about 30 points after first 2 jumping passes, which is so intimidating to compete against somebody like that. I remember competing against Elvis Stoico thinking, he's not going to make a mistake, and that got in my kitchen. That has to get into other people. Plus, he gets positive GOA on so many different things. Other note that I wrote here is a small moment after the triple Lutz, which is in his 3rd jumping passes for you people with remote controls. I love this little jump that I think is towards the judges. So he lands the triple Lutz, turns forward on one foot, doesn't put the other foot down, powers towards the judges, turns backwards, turns forwards, and then hops and skids to a stop. Stops dead and then bounds back in the other direction. It takes too long to describe. It takes a millisecond to do. But as a skater, my jaw drops every time.
No question.
And his head is up at the judges, not looking down. Where's the ice? That move could break your ankle.
And balance has to be perfect, as you're saying, to do something like that. And then he goes right into the circular footwork. And I have to say, my favorite moment, I think musically, is when he goes into his triple loop.
Going into,
Yep, 1, 2, 3, swing roll, 1, 2, 3, swing roll, turns to, and it just is a moment, and I love the repetition. He does it once, and the music asks for it again, and he does it again and right into the triple loop. And yeah, that's really special, and kudos to Patrick and to David Wilson.
And what people didn't see is that PJ stood up and actually did one foot swing roll.
I did. It didn't look the same, though.
Could you point your toe next time?
I looked at the sheet afterwards. The skating skills, the judges, two of the 9 judges gave him 10s.
Mm-hmm.
And it sort of harkens back to when we used to get maybe once in your life, if you're lucky, a 6.0. And so it's not celebrated in the same way that we stood up and saw those 6s, but they are there, folks. And Patrick Chan does get a 6.0. A 10. And that's pretty cool. And more stats, just because we have smart people around me. 7 out of 10 of the total scores of all time, the total best scores for men of all time, 7 out of 10 are owned by Patrick Chan.
Can I just qualify that's after the new system came in? So that wasn't going back to your era?
Of course not, no.
Okay, but I just
Sure.
need to qualify that because that's since the new system. So and that really is a phenomenal mark.
Well, do you guys get into discussions, as I often do with
Hearty
skating fans?
discussions?
Hearty discussions.
Sure.
That's nicely put.
Thank you.
Where people say, oh, Patrick Chan gets overmarkets too much. And I keep saying, you know what? He is a skater for the ages. Just his skating. Just the skating.
That's
I don't
it.
know how else to describe it.
Yeah, it's pure, it's fluid, it's built on momentum. He uses his body lean to maximize the power of the edge, the curve. It's and it's just to watch how every move, the end of one move is the beginning of the next move. It's not right, left, right. It's sweep, curve, turn, go. I mean, everything is absolutely fluidly connected and an integral part of the move before and after it. Alrighty then.
I hope our listeners, I almost said readers, our listeners
If they're reading along, good
survive
luck.
the Chan Love Fest.
Okay.
All right. So we
Yeah,
think
well,
he's okay,
but here's
right?
the deal. Here's the deal. Yeah, as good as Patrick is, a lot of the guys are getting better. And
That's for sure.
you know, that's and they were drawn and inspired by Patrick. Now they're pushing Patrick. And it's wonderful for the sport. And Patrick knows he better be on his game because there's other guys there who can play the same game. So I just think it's great for the sport.
Can I ask you a question?
Me?
Anybody,
pointing at me,
both of
folks.
you guys, actually. So on, just seems the right time to ask this web question that came in from Renee about Patrick Chan. Why so much trouble with the triple axel?
Loaded question. It to me it goes back to a place where he doesn't have a big skid on his takeoff. So when you step on your outside edge and you're moving forward, if you can skid as you're pushing all that energy and momentum up to the toe pick, and that is essentially the last thing that leaves the ice. If you have a skid, it corrects a lot of difficulties. If you don't have much of a skid, you really do need to be perfect. And I've always felt that his axle just has a little tiny bit of a veering off the kilter to the outside of his rotation, and that can be fixed by having that grunting skid. And he doesn't have a big one, and so that would be something that I think that would help. And it's there, and it's not. It's funny,
It
but
was there in the short program, not in the free program, but it's a weakness.
his axle is a weakness, of course, and you know, and it's. I had so many weaknesses, and he has a couple. So, but you know what? The trouble is that when he does meet up with somebody who does hit the quads like he does, now he's got a 0.8 lead instead of an 18-point lead, and it could come down to the axle, and that would be that would be it.
Thanks, Renee, for the question.
Very good.